Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this community showdown between the Dwarves, who shall be led by Nano Mashos, and today, my friends, he faces off against the Vampire Counts, who shall be led by the Treacherous One, and it looks like it's going to be a Lamian Vampire Lord for his Lord versus the White Dwarf. Now, for the Dwarf army here in the front, it's going to be a combination of the Longbeard Great Weapon stacked with standard Longbeards, always a good choice against the Undead. Graveguard are pretty common, the Graveguard Great Weapon, so having a little bit of punch back at them is always nice, but what's nice about Longbeards in this matchup is that they are immune to psychology. So Miners and Dwarf Warriors are not, but Longbeards are immune to psych. So for example, if there's a dreaded Black Coach coming in doing some damage, they will not turn and run due to the terror, as well as with the big old Lamian Vampire Lord. Now here in the back for the ranged, you always need a little bit of ranged against Vampire Counts. Granted, there have been some very strange Dwarf builds that have had like just Ironbreaker boxes with like Gotrek, Felix, and like Grombrindle, and they just kind of like try and win using their heroes to take out the Vampire single entities, but that can be a little bit tricky against very high-level Vamp players. You definitely want some range to poke them down. So we got Quarrelers here. Quarrelers on the far side. It looks like it's going to be a Trollhammer Torpedo backed up by triple Slayer. So I assume one is going to be the Dragonback Slayer. Pretty much always standard. And we got a Thane, we got Grombrindle, and a Runesmith, who does have the Rune of Slowing, as well as the Rune of 22% Ward Save. So over here for the Vampire Counts, we got a Zombie Nation frontline backed up by Stearnsmen and Graveguard with great weapons, it looks like, or standard Graveguard even. Yeah, it's a little bit of a hybrid of both. So I think he probably has like 2 and 2, or let's see, so 2 great weapons, and it looks like 2 standard, including the Stearnsmen, or 3 actually. On the flank, something else we're seeing here are the Cairn Wraiths, and these are actually not uncommon. You would think that bringing a unit that does magic damage against Dawi would be kind of silly because of the 25% penalty you take, but it's actually not. There's been just a bunch of high-level Vampire Coast players and Vampire Count players who've brought either Cairn Wraiths or Sirens and used them to pretty good effectiveness against the Dwarfs. Now, the only thing that these Cairn Wraiths really have to watch out for is Grombrindle. The White Dwarf does indeed do magic damage, so aside from that, though, they should be relatively safe. And if you can get these guys fighting something like Slayers or just working on Longbeards, they can actually trade pretty effectively and really, it's a cheap source of terror, too. So he's got 2 of those. A couple of Fellbats, Lamian Vampire Lord. The one thing that I'm not seeing here that we usually do see with Vampire Counts is Black Coaches. Black Coaches are really obnoxious for Dwarves to deal with, but in this case, it looks like he opted to just go with a more infantry-heavy build, using some Cairn Wraiths to just flank and kind of serve as that pressure piece on the side. Doubled Fellbat, good choice. Can jump on the missile units to, in a very clutch moment to prevent the Iron Drakes from killing your Lord, or, for example, it can be used to chase down Gyrocopters, but, don't really see Gyrocopters too often in this matchup, in my experience. A little bit risky. Vampire Counts usually have some stuff in the air that can really pressure them, and Fellbats alone can like solo Gyrocopters, and it's really not the best time to be trying to run. Yeah, you can kind of like cover them from the ground. So for example, if Fellbats are chasing your Gyro, you can shoot the bats off them, but it's just not efficient in my experience. A little bit hard to do. Maybe if you have like Thunders and things like that. But anyways, Quarrelers shooting downtown, going into the Zombie Nation here. And it looks like some of the Iron Drakes have scooted up, but a little bit obstructed here by the Grumbling Guard, which are immediately moved forward. And pretty rough way for the Vampires to start. Yeah, you lapse for 1 second. That Lamian Vampire Lord already takes a ton of damage. Blasting Charge is going down on the zombies in the front, which is always a pretty glorious thing. And now the Lamian Lord is going to be on the move. So not too bad, honestly. Yeah, a little bit of damage, but nothing you can't recover from. Vampires have a ton of healing. But the Blasting Charge is clearing the zombies, always a feel-good moment. It's only 100 gold value you're getting, but it's less chaff that you have to cut through. Really lets you get to the sweet spot of that Vampire Count army a little bit quicker here. Now up in the sky, the Lamian Vampire Lord continuing to get pounded. I don't know if the Vampire player has noticed this quite yet. I'm sure he will in just a moment, but it looks like maybe a Breath Attack was in the works or a Zombie Summit or something, but the Lamian Vampire Lord really getting hammered quite good. Now on the flanks, Cairn Wraiths coming in here, Cairn Wraiths coming in here. Slayers are being forced to fight Skeleton Warriors in combat, which certainly isn't a feel-good moment. Now the Fellbats are going to be sent in on the Iron Drakes, and it looks like the Lamian Vampire Lord has finally woken up here and is going to be jumping in to attack those Longbeards. So, yeah, pretty, rough start here for the Vampires, but, honestly, it's nothing you can't come back from here. Rune of Wrath and Rune is used here, and it looks like a Pendulum's going to be coming in from the Lamian Lord. Yeah, pretty good cast right there. Really nice cast, actually. Does hit a couple of Fellbats, but doesn't really matter. Able to do some massive damage against those Quarrelers, and if they can be broken, I don't know, I guess the Cairn Wraiths could sweep them up here in the back and cause some drama. Lamian Lord, lightning fast reflexes, a pretty nice countermeasure here. It does give a little bit of a speed buff to make the dragon at least as fast as the dwarf characters on foot, and the Lord should be able to get away there. And the Pendulum did not quite break these Quarrelers. They're sitting at 3 leadership, going quite strong. But the melee fight, Longbeards fighting against zombies and chaff. Graveguard should trade pretty well there with their armor and their bonus versus infantry, but these undead chaff, of course, will be getting beaten down pretty good. On the far side of the battlefield, we do have Slayers against the Cairn Wraiths. Quite an interesting fight. Cairn Wraiths are at 45-45. Slayers have lost 6 models, and it looks like it's a more or less an even trade. Granted, I think in a very long, grindy fight, the Slayers will eventually win, but from a cost perspective, it's pretty nice to just lock down those Slayers and keep them from, protecting other parts of the army, right? For example, here, these Karen Wraiths were able to kind of Tokyo drift around the side here. Now they're really compromising the bow line as well as the Iron Drakes here. And these Slayers, man, taking a ton of damage. That couldn't have been just against the skeletons. I have a feeling while we were looking on the other side of the battlefield, the Lamian Vampire Lord must have gotten a breath attack. Looks like it. Up to 40 kills. Sounds about right. So, still, you know, got a couple thousand HP on this bad boy. Over here, the Undead lines are trading pretty well. The Dwarf army is a little bit disconjointed. Obviously, a lot of their forces are over here. And a nice gooning attempt here by the Lamian Lord. A little bit risky, though, also, considering that there are Slayers nearby in Gromby. But we'll see what kind of damage can be done. Nonetheless, it's always a good idea to engage close to your front line like this, because then you can pull back through your own troops and escape. And yeah, some damage potentially going to be coming down here. Zombie Summon used to buffer out those Slayers. Certainly a solid play, preventing the Lord from taking a lot more damage than it should here. And the Karen Wraith still doing a great job fighting the Slayers, like I said. A pretty even trade. Looks like the Slayers will eventually win that. Karen Wraiths are also not a slow unit. I think their base speed is like in the 40s. Yeah, it's almost 50. And here the Karen Wraiths are on top of the Quarrelers, doing some good work, though being flanked by Dragonback Slayers probably will lead to their crumbling. One of the better ways to kill ethereal units if you don't have like direct magic damage is simply to just use the surrounds and try and break their leadership and get the crumbling going, because their base HP is very low. Now Grombrindle coming in with the steel chair. There's the flash bomb right there. Going to be doing a ton of damage against the Banshee here. Obviously she is ghostly and has a very low HP pool, but Grombrindle does magic damage, so he pretty much has all the tools to be a hard counter against Banshees. And pretty much almost 3 shots at Banshee character. That is some straight brutality there. The Banshee is going to be trying to run, but that crumbling is pretty serious. It might actually go down with a negative 10 HP per second, leading to its demise. We will find out. But here the vampires appear to be in a pretty commanding position. The Graveguard with great weapons have cut through many of the Dawi infantry here, and there's a couple of Grumbling Guard left, and, you know, veteran warriors of many Dawi wars, but probably not going to hold well. There's a Necromancer here. We also have a Corpse Cart with the Unholy Lodestone, giving a really nice buff, and a Pendulum coming down as well. Didn't do a ton of damage. A very risky dive, though. That was a... I, too, like to live dangerously. The Lamian Lord, although with the lightning fast reflexes, a dragon with 112 speed is pretty fast. So able to get away from a situation that maybe a normal Vampire Lord, right, would have been caught. Rune of Wrath and Ruin, a little bit off. It must have just come off cooldown. Unfortunately for the Dawi, the Lamian Vampire Lord does get back up in the sky, but is pretty much on death's bed. I mean, any sort of focus fire is going to really just punish this character here. So, yeah, 600 HP. It looks like some of the Quarrelers are going in on that 70 armor. In the meantime, the Karen Wraiths really causing a ton of problems, able to use their high speed to chase down some of the routing units and cause a lot of disruption. But yeah, man, this Vampire brick of characters and Graveguard is going to be really tough to kill. Although, I mean, a Thane plus Grombrindle plus a Runesmith, and, you know, if they're supported by Dragonback Slayers, they could probably chew through all of this, I would say. But I guess it's going to depend on the Lamian Vampire Lord. Is it going to be able to heal? Invocation is active, healing up for 864 HP, so that certainly feels good. Good to be putting the Lord back up over 1,000 HP. Now, what would be really big for the vampires here would be to get the Lamian Lord over here and get a breath attack on either the Dragonback Slayers or somehow finish off these Trollhammers. Karen Wraiths here doing a good job shutting down the bows for a moment, but Gromby's nearby, like I said, with his magic damage. Each of these attacks is going to be doing some seriously painful damage against the Karen Wraiths and will lead to some very rapid crumbling on those guys. So the Lord coming in, going after the remnants of some Longbeards. A very safe play, but I don't know if he gets caught with the Trollhammers here. That's really going to suck for the Lord after just having healed up with Invocation, but it looks like the Lord should be able to juke most of those shots. Get back up in the sky, and oh, that's what happened. I was wondering where the Sternsmen went, but it looks like they must have chased something all the way off the battlefield. Okay, you know, I thought this was all the vampires had, and I was like, you know what, I think they might actually be in really bad shape here, but considering the dreaded tactical reserves of the Sternsmen are coming back in, oh boy, that is going to be serious. And the Karen Wraiths using their mobility to outrun Grombrindle, definitely good. Have been able to break off these Quarrelers and might be able to break the other ones. It's hard to say, but Gromby should get there in a moment and probably lead to their demise. More Karen Wraiths up on the high ground fighting Slayers, and the eternal battle rages on, but it would appear the Slayers, despite taking a 75% penalty, were able to eventually win that battle here. Now, Thane on the ground with Deadly Onslaught is going after the Necromancer. Certainly nice. He does have the Forbidden Rod, which is going to allow for more spells to come out of the Lamian Lord, and there comes the famed Dwarven Karate Kick. And now the Necromancer is going to be running with his Pimp Cane. Stern's been moving in, should be able to block up that Thane. Infantry, of course, have much better mass here in this current patch. So, yeah, Stern's been able to hold that guy back, especially Dwarf Infantry. Now, Lamian Lord is flying over here. Looks like the Lord actually was able to goon out a Runesmith, who got a little bit caught in open field. So this is a super scrappy game. Both players just looking for freebies wherever they can, right? The Thane going after this, the Vampire Lord going after this character here. Just a really serious battle indeed. Now, the Thane doesn't want to be here, though. He's still confident, but being surrounded by regenerating anti-infantry characters, he's going to have a hard time really getting through their armor, let alone their regeneration. You can see as soon as he hits them, they just like start to heal past that, which is really painful. Flash bomb coming down quite nice. You can see that the corpse cart with the unholy lodestone is going to be the next victim here of the white dwarf. He's really been the Terminator this game, just marching around and just karate chopping all of these. Man, Grombrindle has insanely high HP. Most Footlords are like I think Grimgore's like at 4.2 or something. You would think Grimgore would have like as much HP as Grombrindle. I mean, Grimgore's like this massive black orc, right? I mean, I know Grombrindle's like some legendary ancestor, but even still, yeah, look at the damage. Ooh, man, that corpse cart's getting worked on. And of course, the technology of Helm and Gorst isn't going to be enough to save the dreaded corpse cart from Gromby, most likely, as he should be able to push through there. Yeah, very good opening for him. So I don't know why he can't hit that thing. He's like struggling. Now here the Troll Armor Torpedoes are shut down for now. The Slayers are rushing towards the Lamian Vampire Lord, trying to put that character down. The Cairn Race really proving to be huge MVPs, actually, chasing down those Corlers there. And it looks like the corpse cart has fallen, but Gromby, like I said, man, if only that Thane could have like not engaged here and stayed with the Slayers and just kind of kited. And yeah, because those Sternsmen are going to be real tough to bring down. Got some Longbeards here. It looks like in the distance we have 11 Grumbling Guards, so the Dwarves might be able to kind of get their bearings here. We will see. Slayers fighting a zombie summon, always really good for the vampires when you can make that happen. Slayers, they're 0 armor. Yeah, every one of those zombie attacks, that's 18 weapon strength connecting, right? Still pretty good. Now, Thane getting gooned out. He gets absolutely eviscerated there by the charge of the Lord. And here comes the Sternsman blob, man. I don't know if the Dwarfs have enough stopping power. Yeah, some Corlers back here. One Iron Drake with the Troll Hammer Torpedo looking like it wants to come back. What a hero, man. It's the hero Gotham needs. And Grombrindle going to be moving, trying to unite with the Slayers. But it's looking like it's going to be a spooky vampire count game. Longbeards there on the far side are broken. Cairn Racer crumbling. I mean, Grombrindle would really have to go Super Saiyan here. So he gets a Flash Bomb, and that's a nice start for sure. I mean, getting that character off and getting rid of the Forbidden Rod, although it looks like it might have been stroked right before it goes down. Yeah, I mean, Grombrindle, maybe if he kills he's unbreakable now, right? So, like, he's not going to break and run like he used to. Foe Seeker's active. He's up to a whopping... Oh, yeah, he's seduced as well, so it kind of counterbalances and puts him down to 25 speed. Yeah, the Dwarves really don't have much left. 2 Dragonback Slayers, and over here we appear to have 4 Dragonback Slayers. Grumbling Guard might be able to make their way back in. How did that thing stabilize it? 260 HP. Goodness gracious. Now, the Lamian Lord is going to be coming in for charges, but Gromby still has that Flash Bomb and could get a little bit crunk for sure. His character is going to be crumbling. Yeah, I was wondering why it wasn't crumbling. There it goes. Negative 16, 40. It's 10 HP per second, I think. Yeah, it looks like +1, maybe 11 per second. And the Necromancer's binding to this world has crumbled, although I think Necromancers are still mortal. I'm not really sure. I mean, you guys have to let me know. So now the Sternsman finally starting to take some casualties from Grombrindle, but yeah, Vampire Count players still being very cautious, right? This game is, even though it seems like it's over, Gromby could certainly go Super Saiyan. And if he were able to get a couple really lucky blows on the Lamian Vampire Lord, that could be really game-changing, because then he could probably grind out the Sternsman. 2,000 HP does count for a lot on the Bounce of Power, especially on like big Dragon Lords. So we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding here, but the Vampires definitely want a cycle charge. Oh, nice play there by the Vampire Count player. So what he did is he moved the Sternsman past Grombrindle. That's like a classic RTS tactic. He moved past Gromby and then he re-attacked to get a full surround, because oftentimes people will just, attack from one side and just kind of let them fight, but you want to move like past them and then re-attack to get the most models possible. My brain's just going crazy. Most models possible engaged into that fight there. So Gromby's still doing his best, though, but surrounded by all these undead, it's going to probably be a relatively tall order. He does have the Flash Bomb, and yeah, the Sternsman and those other units really getting some good value. But Gromby, he's chipping through him, man. He's working on the unhealthy one first. Lightning Reflex is active once again. Gromby does respond and do a couple hundred damage, actually, here to the Lamian Lord, despite the ward save from the reflexes. But Gromby is at 81 HP. These are bonus for his infantry characters, and he's an infantry, and down goes the White Dwarf. Very well played. Despite a pretty substantial mistake in the beginning by the Treacherous One, leaving the Lamian Vampire Lord to get shot, he did a really good job aside from that. With his Cairn Wraith pressure was really nice. Pretty good value on those guys. Oh, there's a little bit of lag right here. Well, let's see. There you go. All right. So 600, 1100, Graveguard. Yeah, they obviously did fine. And yeah, it was a cool army. Very different, right? Normally you see cheaper infantry with black coaches, but I kind of like this. It's cool. Yeah, the Cairn Wraiths are, for example, I was watching Anticity play a series the other night against a pretty good Tomb Kings player, and he was using Sirens in kind of a similar manner as like a flanking piece just to pressure, because they're so sticky and hard to remove. You have to really allocate magic or magic damaging unit to go deal with them, which again, you don't always have. So pretty cool build by the Treacherous One. I liked it, man. Very well played in Nano Mashos. It was a great match. Really fun to watch. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I certainly did. And we'll see you guys on the other side. Stay safe and take care, my friends.